guys, welcome to today's video. It is a fun one because not only are we going to be talking about my favorite eyeshadow picks for the fall season, my favorite season of the year, this is also a collaboration with my friend Rachel Palmieri. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Kelly and I love all things makeup and beauty. I love talking, I love makeup, I love talking about makeup, so if you like to chat about makeup too, I would love to have you subscribe and be part of the KBella fam. But why don't we go ahead and jump into the video. Before we talk about my favorite palettes for fall, we need to talk about my friend Rachel Palmieri here on YouTube. I found out about her within the last year, I believe, when my friend Angie and Yelika Nyqvist and Heather Austin came to visit for the rodeo. We were talking about YouTube stuff and they mentioned this girl Rachel and I had no clue who she was. So I found her on YouTube, started watching her videos, and I love her energy. She lives in Florida. I live in Houston, Texas. So we have the hot, humid climate that we are both used to. But she does have oily skin and I have dry skin. So I love to watch her videos and hear about makeup products that are working for her in her hot and humid climate in Florida, as opposed to my hot and humid climate in Houston and my dry skin. It's still fun to hear about. I love her eyeshadow looks. She does beautiful, 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 creative, colorful eye looks. She has a ton of eyeshadow palettes, so a plethora of knowledge. We do have similar video styles where we do chatty videos, we try new makeup, we talk about new makeup releases, but I do love her eye makeup looks. She is also a professional ballroom dancer, y'all. Like, what? Rachel, you need to teach me your ways. So I love Rachel. I will have her channel and her video listed down below. If you are not already following her, go check her out, go give her video a like, go subscribe to her, tell her I sent you. And if you are coming over from Rachel's channel, hello and welcome. Like I said, my name is Kelly. I am a mom of 2 young kids. I am a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and I do YouTube on the side. So I just love chatting about makeup. Let's go ahead and get into these palettes. Okay, so I did try to pick like my top 10 eyeshadow picks for fall. We do technically have 11 eyeshadow palettes here, but 2 of them kind of count for the same category. Let's go ahead and start with what's on my eyes, shall we? First of all, when I do think of the fall season, fall is my favorite. Okay, my birthday's in October, love the fall season, but I think of like golds and greens and like rich autumn vibes. Like I think of the colors that you see on the changing leaves, because although I do live in Houston, Texas, I am from Michigan, so fall was always my favorite season up there with cider and donuts and the changing leaves. So I do have this beautiful gold eye look here, and this is from one of the new Sigma minis. Sigma came out with these little quads. They are so stinking cute. I do have a video showing all of them, swatching all of them, but this is the Creme Brulee palette, and I had not had a chance to try it. I did create a reel using this eyeshadow quad and creating this look here, but I think that this is going to be perfect for the fall because it does give me like this gold shade right here and caramelized, gives me like this rich, like money gold. You know what I mean? And I love that for the fall. But the reason why I was saying that I had 11 palettes is because I kind of grouped these quads together. I do have the Creme Brulee, which is what's on my eyes right now, but I also feel like the Sigma Caramel Apple is another great quad if you are looking for fall vibes. You have this beautiful green shade in Green Apple, you have this beautiful green tart shade, but then you have this nice brown in Salted Caramel, which is like a neutral brown, and you have this gold right here in Buttery. I actually just realized I didn't do an inner corner, so I'm going to take Buttery because I love an inner corner and just kind of pop that right here. But when I was creating my initial video with these cute little quads here, I did use the Green Apple. If you want to see this in action, go check out that video there. But these little quads, I am so into minis. I'm so into quads right now, and I really love the Sigma formula. So I was super excited they sent these over to me. I do have a code with them, KBella. I will have that linked down below if you do want to check out these quads. But I think these little quads are going to be perfect for the fall. And following with the Sigma family, I debated whether or not to put this palette in here. If you caught my mid-year ranking where I ranked all of the palettes that I tried out so far in 2023, I did put my Sigma Earthy palette in there, but I mentioned that I had not tried it. I purchased this palette. I bought this palette with my own money, and I still to this day have not tried it. But I decided to put it in here because the color story screams fall to me, and I'm already familiar with the Sigma formula. I already know that I enjoy the Sigma formula. You have this beautiful moss shade for a bright green, but you also have this wild shade right here, which is like that very deep olive green. You have Wanderlust, which is a taupe. You have Canyon over here if you want to get more into like the brown autumn vibes. This top shade, or this top row right here, is more of like a cooler vibe, and it just screams fall to me. So even though I have not tried this palette, it is in my Shop My Stash. I do plan to try it. I do want to try it. I love the color story here, and I think it's another great one for fall. Some of the palettes that I'm going to mention are discontinued, and I'm sorry about that, but I still did want to mention them because if you have them in your collection and you've forgotten about them, I think now would be the time to bring them out. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because last holiday season, Lunar Beauty, which is Manny MUA's brand, came out with the 12 days of Lunar, and each day you got to open up a new eyeshadow shade and put it in this palette here, or you could be like me and I cheated and opened them all in one day and put them in here. But I think that these eyeshadows are great for fall as well. You do have like these rich warm browns that I think of, matching shimmer shades up here, but you do also have the green. This shade right here is a beautiful shade. It's almost got like a little bit of a duochrome shift. Like, is it gold? Is it bronze? Is it green? Is it purple? It's got a little shift here, and I have not reached for this, honestly, since probably when I filmed with it at Christmas time, and I need to remind myself to bring this out. Sometimes it's challenging with palettes that have been discontinued because I do constantly have like a rotating door of new palettes coming in, old palettes going out, and then palettes that are discontinued sometimes get lost in the shuffle because I just don't think about them often. But I do want to bring this out for the fall because it's a beautiful color story, and I love the Lunar Beauty formula. I believe you can still get this palette, but I do think it was a holiday collection a couple years ago. It's from Charlotte Tilbury, and it is the Instant Eye palette. Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I think there were a couple of them, but I'm pretty sure Smegs got this for me 2 years ago. It has trios here by Color Story, which I think is amazing. You can mix and match, or if you're like me and you just need help picking out some shades that go together, these trios are great. You have the Love Eyes trio. It's more of a softer vibe, but this trio right here I think is going to be great for the fall. Empower Eyes, because again, you have that green shade. You have this like dirty olive green shade here with the brown undertones. Happy Eyes I think will be great for fall as well, because you do have like this red bronze shade here. You have this beautiful topper shade, and then of course we have Confident Eyes. This screams a little bit more of like smoky winter vibes for me, but I still think it would be great for the fall. I need to remind myself to bring this out. I have to say, Charlotte Tilbury is not my favorite formula of eyeshadows. I have formulas that I love more, but I do love this color story. I think they perform great on the eyes, and I'm going to be bringing this out for the fall. Next up is another palette that has been discontinued, but every fall season I think about it, I pull it out again, and it was the Colourpop Hocus Pocus Gather Round Sisters collab. This was the one that kind of like, I was gonna say broke the internet. It didn't break the internet, but it sold out super quick. There was a lot of buzz about this collaboration. It was Colourpop's first time doing a Hocus Pocus collab. They have since done a few other collabs, but this was the original, and I remember it was super popular. Everybody was talking about it, and I actually got on the website, I wanna say like 5 minutes early, and it was up early, so I was able to snag it. But a lot of people, when they were talking about this palette, mentioned that they got on right when it launched, and they were not able to grab it because it did sell out so quickly. We didn't know if it was going to come up anywhere else or be restocked. It ended up being sold at Ulta a couple days later, so I know people were able to get their hands on it, and then they brought it back with subsequent collabs that they did with the Hocus Pocus. I don't reach for this on a daily basis, but it definitely gives me fall vibes. I do love Coven, I Call It a Bus, and Goodbye Cruel World. It's these shifty shades down here that are nice and deep. This one right here, I Call It a Bus, you have these glitter flecks in it, so it's not just like a matte black, but it definitely creates a beautiful smoky glittery eye. I also love this row of greens right here. You have these maroon shades right here. I don't use this pressed glitter in Brew Potion. I'm just not a pressed glitter fan. I do also love these shades right here. You have Full Moon and Come Little Children, which have specks of glitter, but they're more of not like chunky glitter, but more of like lighter specks that don't show up so much on the eyes. And I just think this is a great fall palette. I love to bring it out in October when you get close to Halloween time and Hocus Pocus starts playing online. So although you're no longer able to get this, I don't know if Colourpop's gonna do another Hocus Pocus collab. If they do, they will probably bring this back, but this one was my favorite palette. I did mention that in the fall, I often think of like the changing leaves and your browns and your greens, but I also do think of like berry maroon shades, like in the Natasha Denona Retro palette. I love to bring this one out in the fall. You can see some little fingerprints here from my daughter. She loves to swatch my eyeshadows, but I do also love these cranberry shades and these purple vibes. I like to create like almost these lighter maroon, almost like a smoky romantic eye is what I'm thinking of. I like to take these like matte shades, these cream to powders are beautiful, and put them in the crease. I love to put swag all over the lid. If you want something a little bit lighter, Glitz is a great shade. Psychedelic is great for the inner corner. If I'm going for more of like a cooler vibe, I like to take this Opart shade and put Jude all over the lid, blend it out with Andy for a little bit of like that almost mauve touch to it. So although this is not going to remind me of like the fall leaves falling from the trees, it does definitely give me like fall vibes, and I will be pulling this one out. Natasha Denona is like my favorite eyeshadow formula, so I always love throwing a Natasha Denona palette in there. I cannot talk about fall eyeshadows without mentioning the Nomad Cosmetics Hudson Valley palette. This palette was created with fall in mind. Hudson Valley is in New York, and I have grown to love Nomad Cosmetics. This was sent to me as part of their Starfish program. It was last year this time, back to school. I was nominated as a teacher who is also a content creator, and the owners of Nomad reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to pick a palette. This had been sneak peeked. Is that a word? Sneak peeked? They had a sneak peek of this palette at the time, and so I was like, I would love your newest palette, and I ended up falling in love with it. I typically am a shimmer girl. This is very matte heavy, but I love to combine these three shimmers with these matte shades. This definitely makes me think of the north, of Michigan. My mom is from New York, Buffalo, New York, so it makes me think of New York as well. Again, you have rich like caramel apples, falling leaves, like beautiful, beautiful green, red shades. I don't have a red like this in my collection at all, so I love this palette for fall. I have to say, I don't dip into the cooler side of it very much. I think there's definitely a place for these cooler vibes in the fall, but I tend to stick to the warmer side here, like this as a 9-pan. Is what I stick to in this palette, and I absolutely love it. I did reach out to Nomad and ask if I could have a code, so I will have Nomad linked down below with my code. I can't remember if it's KBella or KBella10. I feel like it's just KBella, but it will all be linked down below if you do want to try this one out. Sticking with Nomad Cosmetics, one of their newer releases, the Nomad Safari palette, also definitely gives me fall vibes. We have some they were safari based, right? So you have the khakis in here, you have the browns in here, but you also have these rich green shades. I feel like this right over here is like screaming fall vibes to me. The row of greens. This palette is definitely a fun one as well. I did create some looks with this one. I purchased this palette myself, and I feel like these two Nomad palettes will be great for this upcoming fall season. I have to say, Huda Beauty does not have my favorite eyeshadow formula, but I do really love her color story with the Empowered palette. The Empowered palette came out around the same time as one of the Natasha Denonas. Was it the My Dream? I feel like it was the My Dream palette, and a lot of people were going back and forth on whether you should get Empowered or My Dream. I have to say my personal favorite is My Dream, and I could have included that in here, but I did have the Natasha Denona Retro, so I didn't kind of want to double dip here. I wanted to give the Empowered palette kind of her time to shine because I do really love the color story. The formulation is just not my favorite. I know there are people who love this formulation. For me, it's a little bit more challenging to work with, but if you look at this side, you have the cooler, smokier vibes, right? I absolutely love this Bold Moves shade. Limitless is difficult for me to work with because it is very chunky, but I think a gold is great for the fall time. This Courageous shade is beautiful, but then if you cover this side up, you do have more of like those warm, rich tones as well, which I think is beautiful for the fall. So if you have this palette, now would be the time to pull it out. Last but certainly not least is a limited edition. I know Rachel has this palette and I believe she loves it as well. So I'll be interested to see if it's in her fall favorites, her fall picks also. But I am talking about the Full Fantasy palette, which was a collaboration between Lunar Beauty, Manny MUA's brand, and Laura Lee Los Angeles, Laura Lee's brand. I love this eyeshadow palette. I love this eyeshadow palette. I knew that I wanted to get it right when I saw the color story. I do love the Lunar Beauty formula. I have not tried the Laura Lee Los Angeles formula, but I think the shades in here are stunning. You have this beautiful smoky quad right here, which I think would be great for a fall smoky eye. Of course, these bright golds. Golds make me think again of the fall season. I love this shade. This shade right here in Full Fam doesn't necessarily speak fall to me, but it's a beautiful shade. If you want to add some color, Aries is a great shade to add color, especially if you're a neutral lover and you're a little bit intimidated. Of course, you have like the lighter neutrals over here, but I have grown to love this palette. I reach for it often. It has become a fast favorite. I've created several looks with it, and I definitely plan to continue to use this during the fall season. Okay, but that is it. Those are my top picks for fall. Of course, you can wear these eyeshadow palettes or any eyeshadow palette any time of the year, any season you want, but fall is my favorite. Like I said, my birthday's in October. Although I live in Houston, I'm from Michigan, so fall season was always my favorite, and donuts and cider, I miss that. I miss that so much being in the South because they don't have that here, but these are the eyeshadow palettes with tones that make me think of home, that make me think of Michigan, that make me think of fall, and I definitely want to be dipping into these. A huge thank you to Rachel. I reached out to her asking if she wanted to collab. I want to say, I don't know, several weeks ago, and we both had a lot going on. She was going on vacation. I'm a teacher, so I'm back to school, but we knew we wanted to collab together. We made it work, and one of my favorite videos is also now a collab with Rachel. She is amazing. Definitely check her out. Like I said, I will have her linked down below. If you enjoy my content, I think you're going to love her. I love her personality. She seems to have a lot of high energy in her videos, which really makes it interesting. So thank you so much, Rachel, for collaborating with me. If you came over from Rachel's channel, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And if you want to stay tuned, hit that subscribe button because I have some fun videos coming up. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.